Welcome to episode 2 of our podcast, Last Pack Magic. I'm Francis. I own a small little eBay store called Pokemon, and this is Kevin Douglas, the biggest middleman submitter in Canada. And of course, our episode is sponsored by none other than KD Collectibles. He is starting to grade with tag as well too. So if you want to try that tag grading out, send it over to KD.
What a great intro.
What a great intro.
It's like you're a pro. It's like you're a pro.
Well, we kind of took a little bit longer than expected for episode 2 because
My bad.
the journey together was a little rough.
Yeah, it's been busy.
It's been very insanely busy, and between that and a lot of different, things we got to do, conventions, grading, things like that. So, how have you been, Kevin?
Good. Just grinding away. Got Chicago Collecticon this weekend, so trying to get everything
Is it this
submitted.
weekend already?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So it's this weekend coming up. So I booked my flights yesterday because I do everything last minute, and flights from where I live to Chicago are very expensive for what it is, but we'll see. I also don't love the whole tariff situation, but yeah, so it's just been busy. I don't typically vend very often, so we'll see how it goes, but a big group of Canadians are going, so we'll all be there. And then, yeah, just getting everything submitted from PSA and out of the house, so nothing's here when I leave. So it's perfect.
Fun. Well, Collecticon's been pretty crazy. I just went to one recently in Miami, not as busy as the other Collecticons, which is weird, but apparently it's the venue. There's a lot of issues there when I went. Apparently, like, they were turning down people because not enough parking, but hey, it's a better shopping experience for me because I got to actually look through cars, not like elbowing people in the face just to get through kind of thing. But
I mean, your goal is to only go and buy anyway, so the less people buying for that is good for you.
Well,
right?
selling too, because sometimes when you want to offload some slabs or whatever the product it is, you have to wait in line for people to actually
Well, only if
finish.
you're selling to Bulbasaur and he's famous, and you gotta try to get on his podcast.
His line wasn't that big this time, but when you go to Vegas sometimes before, his line is
yeah,
crazy, around the table and stuff like that. Some people just want to trade to be on the video and don't even care.
yeah, it's like they're gonna take a loss just to be on his video.
Yeah, but well, this episode we're gonna talk about business, starting in Pokemon business in 2025. How amazing is that, Kevin?
It's a tough time to start a business.
Well, before we get into starting one today, let's just talk a little bit more about how we started our businesses, right? So
absolutely.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. Like I said in the first podcast, I just always been a collector, but went more heavily into collecting in around 2018. Just hawked Facebook Marketplace and started buying collections. And I always had a thing for Charizard, so I would sell everything that wasn't Charizard to cover the cost of the Charizards so that I could keep them all. Had a knack for finding collections and then just kind of expanded that way. Started offering PSA submissions, and that kind of became the focal point of the business and providing good customer service of getting the cards back, but not great customer service of getting back to people when they have questions. So yeah, and it's just ballooned that way, and it's still the same thing. I still struggle on consistent communication in terms of people messaging me on my personal Facebook, but outside of that, I think I've kind of fine-toothed the fine-tuned the process of submitting, getting things out in a timely manner. Right now, I'm submitting 3 times a week to PSA, and that's the focal point and the focus of my business. Obviously, if you were to start something like that today, you'd be incredibly unsuccessful because PSA won't allow people just to randomly submit, and Canada is essentially shut down from the public submitting. So that wouldn't be a business adventure I would recommend at this point.
Yeah, well, I think that's a more, kind of context, trying to find a unique like kind of a niche in the market where you can
Yeah.
make money out of, right? But like also the more general, like you have distribution access, yeah, you buy and sell cards and that. Like how did that expand? How did you
Yeah,
get
I mean,
distribution?
so I started with Darkness Ablaze was the first set, I think. Is that before Vivid Voltage? I
Yeah.
think it's before Vivid Voltage. Darkness Ablaze started with Darkness Ablaze, got one case of ETBs, one case of booster boxes. Is what it is. I got it, didn't really sell it, and then purchased a large amount of Champions Path ETBs off of God's Arena when that first came out. Like maxed out any available money that I could possibly have. Luckily, I had a connection with Gabriel from God's Arena. He gave me a slightly better price, but nothing good. But it was a product you couldn't get. It was heavily allocated, and started with that. Started doing live streaming. Realized that's just too much work for me in terms of like the packaging on top of like the grading stuff. So I was like, I'm not going to do that, and just kind of kept my allocation that way, and then transitioned into the store with Adam in Toronto. Essentially transferred over most of my allocation to the store for the previous, I want to say 2.5 years. And then recently, Adam has expanded the store. I've stepped back, so he's taken on Toronto cards to go Beardy cards, and I still have my allocation. Haven't really decided what I'm doing. I throw the odd thing on the website, like I have Journey Together booster boxes on the website, but I also don't promote it or do anything with it. So it's kind of just like my good customers for grading that go to my website sometimes find that I have a great deal on something because I just put it up because I was bored and needed to list some stuff. But yeah, that's how I started, and that's where I'm at now.
Yeah.
How
So
about you?
for me, it's a little bit different journey. I think we spoke briefly about that last time. Is collecting was expensive. It was getting more and more expensive. But then I saw a gap in between the regular channels of like with Facebook, where we source a lot of cards, and the general market like eBay and such like that. So I was able to like see a gap in the market where you can pick up collections and single cards for cheaper off of Facebook, and then throw them back on eBay, make a little bit in between there, and then just started looking at more sealed product, gain a connection through you to like start grading some of those singles as well too, to put on my eBay. And then eventually was able to like start building up more and more product, more and more inventory,
Yeah.
eventually getting distribution, and of course starting selling and expanding more in different sales channels, and then just kept rolling over profits more and more and more, and just seeing like more opportunity in all different spaces, right? There's not just
Yeah.
one way of doing business in Pokemon or TCG. You can't just survive off selling sealed. You can't just survive off selling, singles. You have to do a little bit
You
of
can,
everything.
but you just have to start not right now.
Yeah.
If you started early on, you could like I could survive strictly off of grading. The buying and selling and stuff is just extra stuff that I've added on to my plate. But I also have been doing this for 10 years, so like it's a different situation. Starting now, I don't think there's anyone that could just pick one thing and exceed and not have to look at anything else.
Which kind of like goes into like where like how do you sell and where do you sell, right? Because like anybody can buy product right now, and I see a lot of people right now just have a lot of product, and then they just are very you know just try to sell it on Facebook Marketplace or like
Mm-hmm.
eBay and stuff like that. They're eating fees, they're doing that, and like they haven't really developed much of like a platform for them to sell their product. It took you years to come up with your clientele to sell your products to, your
Yeah,
customers to grade with you. It took me years to
absolutely.
build up my eBay and stores and everything to actually get returning customers and like give feedback and getting a little bit of deal from eBay here and there every so often as well too, right? Because they do offer that here and like every so often,
Yeah.
right? So like importance of developing that in this market, like kind of it benefits during this market when everything is hot, but you kind of have to develop it when it's kind of like in a more
A
quieter,
weaker period time. Yeah,
quieter
absolutely.
market.
Yeah, everybody wants in the market now because it's impossible to lose money. So everybody's like fighting over allocation and fighting over product and fighting over whatever they can do to make money, and that's fine. But like I said, if you're only, I think I said it on the Pokey Office podcast that we were on, you're only one bad set away from bankruptcy for 95% of the stores in Canada. I feel like most couldn't weather a storm, just financially. So you gotta make sure that you're protecting yourself from the downturn and not going so heavily into the good moments, because you could be buying at the top right now and not know it.
Yeah, SV base killed a lot of stores, right? So
Absolutely.
it's one of those things. So if you were to start a business in 2025 today, right now, you're like, I want to be a Pokemon millionaire and open a store and sell stuff and stuff like that. Where would you start?
Hard to say.
Besides
Depends
saying
on how
don't
much.
do it.
Depends on. Well, I would say I would always say it's not what it's all cracked up to be. Like, I work 18 hours a day on my business, and it definitely makes your home life. I mean, I work from home, but like your personal life, your family life, that kind of stuff, sacrifices. So it's not great. There's been some people pop up that have done a really good job in growing their business in the last 12 to 18 months, but they're not experiencing the same stuff yet, and the burnout and that kind of stuff that you will, as you go longer and longer, right? So I would say um, the best place that you could go is probably just the buy and grade route, depending on how much your capital you're starting with. I will always recommend buying and grading, or like learning the nuances of grading before buying. Sure, you can buy collections and make 15%, or you can try to convince vendors to sell at 85% so that you can sell at 100%. I don't recommend that. It's not, most times if you're doing it legitimately, making 15% isn't worth it unless you're like moving significant volume. So I would say the best route, in my opinion, is always the buy and grade route, and not because you'd have to grade through me. Just prefacing that, but because in terms of like your return on investment, if you get, especially in modern stuff, if you get good grades, will vastly outperform anything else in the market that you could do.
Well, like I think like a lot of people don't understand is like the capital needed to start a successful Pokemon business is like crazy amounts, right? If we
Yeah,
talk about making 10%, 15% off of a car, let's say making 10% off to have a sustainable like wage, let's say you're making at least, let's say $40,000 a year. I mean, that's not even sustainable in the GTA,
yeah,
but like you need to have $40,000 worth of product every month to make 10% in between. Not many people have $40,000 to put into Pokemon every single month into flipping that 10% difference, right? Or
absolutely, yeah.
and that's if you were able to sell all 40K of it every single month, right? Like it's the
Well, and
capital
that's the
needed.
thing. Like, you got to keep in mind, not everything's going to sell. And the second that this market downturns, you got to have to be able to hold until you can get out of it, or be comfortable getting out of it. And I'll be honest with you, most people in the industry aren't comfortable taking losses, and you see it very much in the sports market as well as the trading card world. Most people always try to get what.
Oh, what happened to Kevin's stream? We lost Kevin, guys. We lost Kevin. Oh, he's back. Is he back? Nope, he's gone. Well, I'll talk a little bit more while we get Kevin back. How I think me and Kevin both agree in this aspect is the grading play is a very good starting point because the capital needed is significantly less, right? A lot of people think the first step into the Pokemon business is sealed product and more sealed product. You buy a product, you flip it for like 20, 30, 40, 50% more. But it's not always the case in terms of like every set. We were lucky in the past. Oh, he's back. We were lucky enough for the past couple of sets that sealed was able to generate double the amount, 3x, whatever it is, it is for Prismatic, for Journey Together, for Destined Rivals, but there will be a bad set that happens, and people will lose money on those, and the capital holding that is a lot of capital for sealed versus grading. You don't need as much capital
No,
to grade,
not
right?
at all. Yeah.
So starting a business in 2025, grading is a good starting point.
Yeah,
Adding
like I
things
mean, and at
big.
the end of the day, like if you started with $500 and you went for $30 cards and you bought 10 $30 cards and then sent them for grading and it took 2 months to get them back, and then you get the bill for what is that, $290 plus tax? You're into the whole thing for maybe $650, and those $30 cards, even if you sell them for $80 to $100 each, you're up, and you can do it more. And we have a friend that's doing that currently, and he's almost tripled his capital over the last 6 months, less.
Yeah,
Probably.
So like kind of what Cosmo was asking here, like with the 10,000 investment in buying, grading starting point for someone looking to business, I think that is 10K is actually a lot more than what a lot of people have already in starting a Pokemon business. Like a lot of people message me, and a lot of people message you, Kevin, as well too, as well. Like, well, how do I get into this business? What do I start with, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like my question is always like, how much money do you have?
Yeah.
Because it's like a big factor into like what you can do, right? Can you hold product long enough for it to be profitable? And that's the no. Then your roots on where you can go in this business are very limited, because you have to pretty much the only thing you can do is grading, and grading is not for everyone as well too. I mean, I've seen it when I pick up a lot of cards for you to submit for grading, and people send in 100 cards and you get like a 90% on PSA 8s and 9s. It's like you're not making much money off of that. So there is a skill level in this as well too. So like
that's the other thing. Don't jump right in, right?
Yeah.
Like don't ever invest. Like even me, like don't invest everything into Pokemon. Like I'll always say that, like unless you have unlimited capital and money doesn't matter to you, which I don't know very many people that money is just not a factor. Don't fully go in. Like toe in first. If you're successful, then you can expand it, and then you're playing with like the house's money, and it becomes a lot easier to take risks. But I never tell everybody to invest everything, because it's not a good idea.
Yeah, like what Great Hub is saying, like sealed normally as a operating business, I would say it's pretty terrible now for most operating businesses, not investors, because investors are a little bit different, right? For sealed products or whatever it is, but for like an operating business where you need to churn and burn all that money and product, sealed is terrible right now.
I agree, but I mean, in Ben Graded Hub he's also the person who's willing to dabble on a PSA 10 Skyridge set that could tank 30% tomorrow.
Yeah, but he's already set. Like that's like a different thing, right? That's like a different aspect. It's more of like a new business, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you're a new business and you get your allocation, I can order 100,000 Prismatic ETBs, but I'm not gonna get 100,000 ETBs from Prismatic. I'm gonna get like 2 cases, right?
If you're a brand new account, you're gonna get none. Probably
you're gonna get like 1 ETB.
Yeah. So
right,
so like your whole investment strategy on sealed is you get 1 ETB, and then you can buy at market, which I think was 160 when one of our distributors sold out, was what they were selling for, 160 plus tax. So then you're no longer getting that advantageous price. You're pretty much paying full market, and then you don't have the ability to dollar cost average up like I would when I get 60 to 80 at that initial price.
Yeah, but
and then I buy more
at 80. That's like if you're starting a business, right? You won't get 60 and 80.
No, not at all. That's what I mean.
And you still only get 60 and 80. If you had employees and you had a store, you'd be struggling still, right? Because you can't really reorder or anything like that. Like sealed, everybody thinks like getting sealed is great. Getting distribution is the end game where like I'm going to make so much money off distribution. But like 80-90% of the time, you don't make that much money off wholesale
No, you're
distribution
typically
cost.
buying to make like 5% just to get out of it to have the product available. But
Yeah.
5% doesn't pay the bills, even when you're
No.
like a basement vendor that doesn't have overhead or anything like that.
And the capital it's stuck into that as well too, right? Like we
Absolutely.
talk about 60 to 80 ETBs, but that's a lot of money stuck in there. Like it's nice in prismatic, but what if you had
What about when I
100?
took 96 booster boxes of Scarlet Violet base? Like,
Yeah, I think it took like around 10 cases of it when I started off with SV base, and like I think I made $5 off each booster box.
I think I sold them at 125, so I lost
Yeah.
$10 a box, give or
I think
take,
towards
per
the like
box.
later, like I think initially, if you were able to get out of it quickly, you were able to like at least break even on SV base. But if you
Yeah.
like held it for like a month or so, they'll probably have to like take like a 5-10% haircut to like get rid of that capital, right? And I think
Yeah.
people have to understand like that's more of what like making 5 to 10% on sets is more the norm, and like
Yep.
and sometimes it's actually very hard on certain sets to make 5 and 10%, which
But it comes back to being comfortable selling at a loss, which
and how much
again,
money do you have to start the
most people
business.
aren't, right? Yeah. Like most people cannot fundamentally lose in their head because they feel like I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever lost on Pokemon, but I've lost on a lot of other things,
Yeah.
including any other thing that I've dabbled in. I can almost guarantee I've lost on. Pokemon I know well enough. I can move out quick enough and I can see the market shift quick enough. Other stuff not so not so positive, but I've moved I've lost a lot in other stuff like MetaZoo 1 and all that kind of stuff. Like, so yeah, I would say be careful on how you get involved. People thought MetaZoo was a gateway into getting into the industry, and a lot of those people also lost a lot of money.
So this year, if you were to start a business, what challenges do you see people are going to have? Or like what challenges when you started the business that you had? Like the biggest hurdle that you ever had?
The biggest hurdle I ever had was always capital. Now money seems like it's one of the easier things to get, in the sense of like, if I need something to like, if I need to buy something, it's much easier to get that in if it's worthwhile. Like, I have people in the industry that would go in on things with me, so it's much easier that way. That's what it was. That was always a struggle. Now my biggest struggle is time. Like, there's just not enough time, and moving the amount of money to take advantage of the opportunities is really hard. Like, people don't see it, but like the back end financial stuff of like having to manage money and move stuff around, and like, my goal has always been to never let PSA have to contact me saying, "Hey, your credit card got declined," and we're still rolling with it, so we're good that way. But there's times where it's like $80,000 US in a day charged to my Amex, so it's managing that kind of stuff and staying ahead of it. But then it's like, oh, there's an opportunity to buy cases of 151 Japanese 151 in Japan for $550 a case Canadian. So it's like, oh, like I got to get some of that, and it's like, oh, pull some of this, send it over there. Like, it's movement of money, I find, is the hardest thing. If you're getting into the industry now, I'd say the hardest thing would be just like capitalizing on the market, right? Like, you can't get into it and pick something and do well at it. It's very much a risk, whatever you try to get into. So I would say that you have to pick one thing and get good at it, and not try to do everything. And everybody tries to do everything. Like, you see stores pop up as middlemen and stop because it's like, oh, like, I didn't realize you had to do all this. I didn't realize I get 300 emails a day asking for updates. I don't want to do any of that stuff, right? But they want to capture that capital of people grading, so they're like, oh, like, I'll just offer that too. Like, how hard can it be? Or so that's what I would say. I would just be like, focus down and get really good at one thing. And you don't have to be good at everything ever. You can be terrible at most things and only have that one thing that you're really good at, and you'll do fine.
Yeah. I think like my biggest challenge is also capital as well. Like when I first started, it was like, honestly, it was like an opportunity cost to see like what can you use for the same amount of money to get you the most amount of return back, right?
Yeah.
If you had, $10,000, right? What do you spend your $10,000 on? We said grading is one as well too. But then while your $10,000 is in grading for 2 months, you're gonna see, someone offloading 151, Blooming Waters for super cheap or something like that. You're gonna see
Or
somebody,
restock on Walmart's website. Yeah, like
yeah.
there's tons.
So like I think like a lot of challenge out there is to picking and choosing, where to spend your money and making sure that you stay focused within where you can actually be able to like afford
Oh,
in
I
this
mean,
business,
you have to
right?
be super comfortable passing on things and never looking
Yeah.
back. Right?
Because like
Like,
a
and
lot
that's
of
the hard part.
people,
Like I turned down team up check lanes from Prince at $14 each.
yeah.
And back not even a couple of years ago now, but it's like you look at that and it's like, well, if I had to just grab the case of those, they're like $140 each now. Like,
How
but you
much
never
Evo
know.
skies I've like passed out on and I have to go buy it back at full market kind of thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But
But
you gotta take your wins and move on and not look at it as a loss because you've redeployed that capital in different situations that should outweigh the difference of locking up that money, right?
and
So
not over leveraging yourself too much to the point where like you can't afford to keep any of it and have to sell it for a discount because we see a lot of that happen.
we do see a lot of that happening right now. Yeah.
So in your business for a few years now, have you ever been scammed? I heard a lot of people asking like, what do you do about scammers and things like that? Like, what's your biggest loss with a scam? Because I'm sure you have been. I'm sure every store has been scammed
The
somehow.
only time I've been so I got one charge back on sealed products from North Montreal, which is literally exactly where everyone was getting scammed from online websites like Deckout. All those guys were all getting scammed from that area at one point, and then I got an order for that. I think it was only 2 booster boxes, and that was the one time I got scammed on the website. And then the only other time I got scammed, I knew I was getting scammed, but it was too good of a deal to not try to go. It was just like a random guy in had responded to a buying collection ad out of New York. It was during COVID. He had a sob story. I was like, I'm 100% getting scammed. It's like $100 for a bunch of Japanese Wizards of the Coast hollows and stuff. And I was like, oh, you know what? Like, whatever, I'll try it. And I obviously got scammed, but the whole time, like, I knew, I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. So like the fact that so many people get scammed now is like, it's hard to like stomach because I've been in here for so long and not once has it been a situation where like you couldn't see it coming from a mile away. But people's greed gets the best of them in the sense of like they think this good deal it should happen, but most times it's not a real thing. So
how do you
only
mitigate?
once really that, and once by accident and once by choice because I got greedy.
So how do you mitigate that risk now? Like,
I mean, nowadays I don't really buy a whole lot, to be honest with you. Like when you're dealing with the Japanese suppliers, like there's just a lot of I don't even know what to say. Like a lot of just sketchiness in general on that side of things. Like you're just sending a random Japanese person like $30,000 over a random company's thing that has no recourse if you get scammed, and you just kind of hope that there's no issues. So that side of things, like I've been blessed to have been introduced to some really good suppliers in Japan, so that I haven't had to feel that that sketchiness that a lot of people go through. But yeah, I would just say like the vouch system works, but fake vouchers are easily obtainable. You can have, again, if you want the deal bad enough, there's going to be a situation where they can make it happen, regardless, right? Like it doesn't matter how good of a deal. If you're wanting this deal, you'll convince yourself that it's a good idea, even though it might not be. So, yeah, just if it's too good to be true, it probably is, which is like one of those things that everyone says. Like, but yeah, just be careful. Ask for vouchers. Just so everybody knows, everybody just adds me as a friend on Facebook. And most times I just allow it because I don't have the ability to know if this is a grading customer and they're trying to get updates or anything. So for me, it's like I don't typically decline friend requests unless it's a known scammer, and then I won't accept it. But for me, like, my business operates on Facebook, so a lot of people are messaging me on Facebook, so I approve 99.9% of the friend requests that I get. So if you see somebody as a friend of mine, don't just assume that, oh, this person's probably good, because I may never have spoken to that person, and they may be adding me as a friend strictly for them to do nefarious things.
Yeah, well, I feel like I get attempted to be scammed like every week for my business wise. But like my biggest, my biggest in terms of scam or stuff is like on eBay usually is what people scam mostly, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I get scammed like every other week on eBay. People say they haven't received items. People say, item not as described. They open booster boxes, they get nothing, and they return back an empty box. Like things like that happen to me, like I said, like every other week, right?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes things are like $50, $60. Like I've taken a big, like someone tried to scam me worth like $15,000 worth of ETBs and stuff as well too. But I think the biggest thing is like make sure you're protected in terms of whichever platform you use. So
Yeah.
like PayPal, eBay, and such like that. A lot of people, bash on eBay saying that they charge whatever fees and things like that.
It's just a
But
cost of doing business.
it's a cost of doing business. And at the same time, that I got scammed for like 15,000 of ETBs. eBay forked that bill and gave that back to me, right? Yeah, it took a couple weeks for them to do their investigation, but I have yet to lose money on any scam on eBay
Mm-hmm.
because everybody, like, as long as you do your part and make sure that you mitigate that risk,
Yeah.
track shipping for things that you aren't scared to lose, signature for things over like $750. As long as you do all the steps of what eBay tells you, you're like 100% protected. Yeah, sometimes I'll sell like a $5 card and I'll send it untracked mail and they claim it lost. You know what? Whatever. It is what it is, right?
I mean, every business has losses, and I feel like people are quick to be like, oh, like even people say like, oh, the upcharge system is a scam in PSA. Nobody likes it, but everybody loves when they can sell their card immediately after getting it because it's graded by the most recognizable company in the world, right? Like it's them capturing market share, just similar to you should expect some sort of loss.
Yeah.
In doing business. That's the way that it goes.
And as the market in 2025 starts like, getting more and more different types of people into the business of, different backgrounds and different whatever it is, I think making sure that you're protected is very important because a $200 loss to you, a $200 loss to somebody else is going to be different, right? A $200 loss to you is going to be a little bit less than someone that's just starting off. That could be all their money that they have to start this business, and that's it. They're done with their venture, right?
Yeah.
So like, I would say make sure that you are selling on a platform that has these protections or take payment methods where you are protected. For example, PayPal. I mean, everybody hates PayPal, but at the same time, you kind of need it, or whatever equivalent that there is right now. I don't even know what else there is. Is there anything else besides PayPal that offers seller protection?
I don't think so. You can always do a PayPal invoice and have somebody pay credit card too, or you ask for an invoice from somebody, and if they can give you an invoice, you can pay credit card, so that you're kind of double covered in the event that you have to go to your credit card. I do that with large transactions, but most times my grading stuff, like I've yet to see anybody try, and I would love for them to try to go up against me with the full documentation that I have to try to exploit that as like a product not found or something like that. Like, yeah, like you say, you just need to do everything you can to protect yourself especially in a time right now where like money is so abundantly like present in this industry that everybody's it's ripe for a scam. I would say, like I said last time, it's a bad time because everybody is so quick to be like, oh, like that's a really great deal, I'll just get it without thinking about it, right? So that would be the big thing for sure, is just protect yourself from that stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, talked about in terms of like how to, what we should do to start a business. If we were to start it in 2025, what we would do is go into grading, start building that up and everything like that. Why do you see, I mean, we see a lot of people fail in this business, but like, why do you think most people fail in this business?
Inability, like I said, inability to handle the ups and downs, right? Like it's easy right now to be like, oh, like that's a deal, I'll buy it, this is a deal, I'll buy it, and become so over leveraged that you're like, okay, well now I gotta move something to pay my credit card. And like even I do that at times where it's like, oh, like I'm sitting on a lot of product, way more than I want to right now. I need to move some stuff. So it ends up you feel obligated to give a better deal to move stuff. Right? Like you feel obligated to move stuff at a quicker time. So you're giving a better deal versus like the ability to hold. So if you don't overspend on things, you don't feel that obligation to sell and to pay a credit card or anything like that. So then you have the ability to weather the storm if things go down 15 to 20%. Because most times it bounces before it actually starts going down. It trends down more calmly, but you'll see blips at the start where like things just tank, and that's typically an indicator where things are kind of a little bit rocky and not as stable as what people want them to or think they are.
Well, like I also see like, for me, when I see the people in this industry that come to me or talk to me about the business, it's like there's like two really huge things that like most people fail. Number one is that their inability to like adapt and change within the market, right? Like people are like, oh, I just gonna be a sealed store. I'm only gonna sell sealed product. And then like when sealed turns to like where SV base was, where you're losing 10% from distro every single box that you buy, well, you're not gonna be much, a great business losing 10% every single month on everything, right?
Unless you're Rudy.
Well, he's not really like a regular store.
No, and he can hold it because again, to him, it doesn't matter, right? Like he can sell it or not. That's where you're at.
So like a lot of people are very one-dimensional and be like, I only do this, I only do that, and I only do that, and don't want to expand anything else, right? Yeah. And that goes along with platforms as well to sell, right? People are like, oh, do you sell only on eBay? It's like, no, I sell anywhere and everywhere possible, right? You give me a platform to sell, I'll sell it, right?
Even the wrong ones, right, Francis?
Whatever platform. Hey, if Whatnot wants to sponsor me to sell on Whatnot, I'll sell on Whatnot, right?
Yeah.
It's just whatever platform you have to be as a business to be able to like, we don't know what these platforms are going to be 3 to 5 years from now, right? People make fun of TikTok being a dancing platform. Now people rip and ship and sell a lot of stuff on TikTok, right? So it's like, we don't know what these platforms are when you start going on there, but in 2 to 3 years, if they become this big platform, you might be the grandfathered account that has super low fees and you're like the number one store in there, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
You can't be too one-dimensional and thinking like I only sell on Facebook Marketplace or I only sell on Facebook groups kind of thing. I think you have to like be able to expand and sell everywhere to be able to be successful in this business. And like another thing that I see a lot of people do the mistake of is expanding too fast, right? How many people are like, I'm gonna open a physical store, I'm gonna open a brick and mortar. I'm like, well, how long have you been in the business for? I just started like 3 months ago.
I would say to open a brick and mortar and like fully transparent, you need $500,000 liquid, like cash available, no obligation outside of like rent and stuff to comfortably do that. And I'm talking like liquidity wise of like you don't have to worry about anything because you're going to get forced to take product and grow. Anything less than that, and I feel like you're going to miss opportunities that as a store you would need versus as an individual you probably could pass on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, you dabbled in the brick and mortar. You weren't really actively as much, day-to-day.
Yeah, it's mostly Adam.
With day-to-day operations on it. Like, if you were, would you ever go back to a brick and mortar store?
No, there's no way I'd go back to a brick and mortar unless I owned the building. So you paying rent and having to deal with other stuff, it's too much. the margins on not just Pokemon, but like things in general aren't large enough to justify GTA rent versus like where I live in London. Like it's it's slightly different. But to have the worthwhile opportunity to open something like that and capitalize on it, it's not worth it. There's no reason to open a store outside of trying to get more allocation. And getting more allocation only works if you don't have to spend a higher price to get it or spend on other things to get it. So I don't think I'd ever go back to a brick and mortar. I say that obviously if an opportunity came up where it made sense. I'm not a 9 to 5 go somewhere kind of person. Like I actually looked at a warehouse last week to move the operation there just so I can hire people and get it kind of work-life balance a little bit back. It didn't work out, but I feel like that's a much better opportunity for me because my connections more lie in the ability to bulk buy and bulk sell versus going to a 9 to 5 store and opening up and dealing with the general consumer when I'm as busy as I am. But I mean, it could change.
Yeah. So like if you were to start your business today and someone's like ask you, hey, let's do a brick and mortar store together, you'd be like, absolutely not.
Yeah, I would say no.
No, thank you.
I would say you put up the money, I'll put up the name. But I would not go and put my name behind anything right now. The grading stuff just takes up all my time, and I don't want to put that on somebody else. Of their responsibility is more input than mine. Most times the way I look at business right now is will it be 50-50? And if it's not, then I'm fine taking a lesser percentage if you just want me to be a part of it. But I don't want there to be any issues in terms of people getting contempt that I'm not fully involved in it because my job currently takes significantly more time than people realize.
What do you think about doing a rip and shipping business?
I mean, it's very saturated.
Because like in 2025, in this year, right?
Yeah.
Starting it, you don't need to pay rent for anything, right? You just have to buy whatever product that you have on hand, and you can start rip and ship. You have a couple of friends that's just to boost your stream a little bit in the beginning, and then once you get a little following, and you can like start, being the next PokeRev, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I could never do it. I could hire somebody, and I would happily hire somebody to run a rip and ship if they were trustworthy and nearby. Give me a shout. But I could not add that to my plate because I know how much that takes.
Okay, so it's a viable business in this year.
It is and it's not. Like you need to have really good connections to get product. Because if you're buying all of your product off of Costco and Walmart, you're not going to be successful, regardless of how much you can get.
Sustainability, right? Like that margin only lasts so much until it's dried up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn,
especially with everybody else doing it.
Yeah,
and the US being inherently cheaper already.
Yeah, and I think it's like learning to be able to make money during a downturn in the market, right? And I think we've both been able to do that and trying to find different things to be able to make money off of. But like most people that start their business during this time probably only know one way, and
it's hard to lose money right now. That's what I'll tell people, right? you gotta be a special breed to lose a lot of money right now. But that changes very quickly of like how fast how like what's that saying? A rising tide lifts all boats. That's what we're going through right now. Like everything goes up because it's all good right now. But if you don't know what you're doing and you're just blindly throwing darts and trying to get a bit of everything, that's where you're gonna get stuck, right?
Yeah. So like with this crazy market and like product being a little bit scarce, right? As like a business, I know you don't sell as much sealed stuff, but I guess you probably get a lot of opinions from a lot of different stores asking you for what to do, right? So like on one hand, your business, you want to make money. on the other hand, if you charge near market or market price, you're going to get destroyed by this community of people that think everything should be whatever price that they dictate, right? So like,
Yeah.
how would you navigate that, catch 22 kind of situation?
If I was a store, so the
Yeah.
stores that are doing really well right now, and I could name them, but I won't, don't care what the social media Facebook world has to say. They sell. It doesn't matter what price they put. Things are purchased. Their ads, they target the demographic of the people that they need to target, and they don't care. They don't care about the person on Facebook who believes that every pack should be $3 and anything else is a ripoff. And stores they don't care. Most people in the industry most people in the hobby, not in the industry, are so misinformed that they think they have all the answers of how products should be allocated and how things work, and it's wrong 100% of the time, because no one understands how it works. No one understands how it works from a distribution, like a store to a distribution level. No one understands how it works from Pokemon to a distribution level. They just tell them because they feel like they're entitled to get product at X price because product was available at X price, and now that it's not Y price, well, everybody's against them because they can't buy cheap Pokemon cards. And at the end of the day, like, that's what people are complaining about right now, is that you can't buy cheap Pokemon, when there's much larger issues at hand right now in the economy than buying $4 Pokemon packs. But and let's be real, those people that are complaining weren't supporting the stores when product was cheaper, because they would still go to Walmart and buy an ETB as opposed to going and supporting that store. So I'm all for stores making money and pricing things accordingly. I think a lot of stores are taking advantage as well, which is part of the industry. I think distributors are taking advantage a little bit as well. Everybody's taking a little piece of their pie, and that sucks. But I think there's a lot of misinformed people that feel like they're entitled to whatever they want.
Well, like, personally, I sell everything at market, maybe sometimes even above market, right? And people will hate me for that, for sure, right? I have people say whatever evil things, saying like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this and that and that. But like, I sell out for most of my products. I don't get that much product to like, be able to like, sell millions and millions and millions of dollars of it. But I feel like this is like kind of like a reward for grinding out the years that it wasn't successful, right? Like,
yeah,
I was there buying Paradox Rift when they're on discount. The distro calls me, hey, we have this sale for like these 151 boxes, take these theme decks and stuff like that as well too. I'll be like, okay, bring it all on, I'll take them all out, right? Like,
yeah,
this is my reward for writing it
the
out.
downside is your reward is also getting passed on to people that have been in the industry and for less than 2 years and haven't had to deal with that. They've only been in the industry. Like, if I were to start a rip and ship company and I had somebody that I could trust to do rip and ships, I could probably sell $100,000 in product a week and source it, right? But because these random people have come in and started to buy and sell, and TikTok streamers and that kind of stuff in Canada, they pull that product away from the people like yourself that have been around and had to deal with that and now get 2 or 3 cases of booster boxes, when realistically, like, you should get rewarded for your time as a consumer, as well as what you spend. Distributors just base it on what you spend.
Well, also, like, maybe I'm just like salty, but like when the market was pretty good a couple years ago during COVID time, I was able to get a little bit of product, from some other people as well too, for relatively cheap, and I sold it back to people for like, a reasonable price that was, during that time. But then when the market was bad during those SV base and stuff like that, those guys were like gone, right? They would come back to me and say like, why would I buy your price when, I could get it off Facebook Marketplace for 20% less, right? So like, there's like, when people think that there's loyalty in this industry, there is to a certain extent.
There's not, though. No, like, I talk about this with my distributor all the time. Like, I lose customers for grading over 50 cents to people that aren't businesses, have no insurance, aren't on a PSA website, but are willing to undercut me, not charge tax because they're not a real business, and then have police reports about them and things like that. Like, you got to look at it from like they're like my distributor and I talk about this all the time. People will abandon you in the Pokemon world for 50 cents. It's not like
Oh, yeah.
sports. The sports world is completely different. The sports world, like everyone has their guy. Even in grading, like it's hard to break into the sports market. That's why I do so much TCG, is because everyone has their guy and they're loyal regardless of the price, regardless of the turnaround. Like that's their person. And that's fine, but like Pokemon's not like that. Like I have
No.
diehard customers that would never leave my side and will grade with me until I stop. But I also lose customers for no reason other than price.
Well, like I get people that are collectors that come to me and be like, "Oh, I'm a collector. Can you sell me this ETB for like 50% less, whatever it is, and stuff like that?" And then when I sell it to them, they go flip it on Facebook Marketplace for double the price, and then I try to, sell them like when the market is bad, I'm trying to sell them an SV base at cost. They're like, "No, thank you." Right? There's no loyalty in that aspect. Like
Yeah.
all these stores right now are giving people like, I'm selling at MSRP. It's for the community, but like the same stores or same people are gonna like turn on that business when the market is different, right? Like,
but at the same time, like those people that are selling at MSRP are selling 10 booster boxes at MSRP and then are offloading the rest at full market without people paying attention. But because they made a post about selling it at MSRP, it makes it look
advertisement
like
cost.
right. It's that whole thing. Like I said on the Poke Office podcast, like there's stores that I know only pre-sold 10, 15 booster boxes saying that they're eating the cost on the tariffs, and they're being hailed as like, oh, like that's such a great thing to do. But it's like, yeah, like they just ate $300. Like that's not a big deal. You ask big companies to eat hundreds of thousands and then get upset when they're like, no, like I'm not going to do that, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be loyal to them if they do that anyway. You're going to go and look somewhere else, and you're going to look for that best price, because that's what this industry is known for.
I just like think, honest business is great. Like I charge market. It is what it is. You don't like it, you don't want to buy from me, that's fine. I'll find somewhere else to move it. And there's a day that, market's not going to be beneficial to me anymore. And you're still going to pay market at that point anyway. So like, to me, it's no difference, right? So it's like,
yeah,
I'm honest. I'm going to charge market and that's it. You can find it cheaper. That's good for you. Go do that, right? Like I charge my market.
See, my trick is just to buy everything that I get offered and have no time to sell it, so that when I do have to sell it, I'm already good, because I just forgot it at a storage unit, and then I was like, oh, there's that. Like like I just find stuff because I don't have time to sell it. But like I also recognize like I can't sell very much stuff at market without some sort of explanation, because people feel like I should be giving it a better price, even though that's not how things like Walmart are treated. But because it's Pokemon, everyone thinks that it should be the way that they want it to be. Again.
Yeah. Also, I really hate this new thing about like, oh, we're gonna cut up the booster box and sell it at MSRP, like things like that, right? Like,
yeah,
let's battle the scalpers and let's cut the booster box and sell this product to you, right? For like, oh, it's for the community and people. Like I absolutely hate that idea of what people are doing that, because like, why are you dictating me how I want to collect? I want to collect a sealed box, right?
well,
Like,
I mean, I sold 4 boxes at $199 plus tax, and I cut the box topper out.
well, you took the box, it's different, right?
Yeah.
But people are saying like they'll cut the booster box. Like I think Singapore did it for the Pokemons, or Japan does it as well too, right? Like
Japan does it all the time.
Yeah, but like it doesn't really help the market for scalping. And now it just creates 2 separate categories of a sealed and like no shrink. And
yeah,
then
and no shrink is just a little cheaper.
And then it's also a big like, kind of like,
and then you get juice boxes in your boxes instead of actual boxes, right?
But like it's like stores, I get it with Pokemon Center does it, right? They don't care about investing people, but like as a LGS or whatever it is, like why are you dictating how I want to collect my product, right? I want it sealed and stuff like that. So like I want to get it sealed, right? Why are you dictating how I should? Like should I open all the products in front of you? Should I like never grade cards? Maybe buy singles? Like I just feel like a lot of stores have like a lot of like this trying to like be this, I'm morally better than everybody else and doing all this
like
stuff.
one of them came out yesterday on YouTube with some complex algorithm of how they're going to stop bots from buying on their website because they're selling destined rivals at MSRP and they have a big, like a large following. And it's just like, well, like, why do you have to do that? Like, it does. You're now jumping. The guy explained it like 8 different steps to prevent people from being able to bot his site. I'm just like, it just seems like you're doing more work to sell 100 booster boxes when you're going to sell the rest at full market price. Like, why? Like I get you want to help the community, but like, would it not just be as easy to hold a raffle and give 60 boxes and email those people directly? Like that, don't even put it on your website. Have 50 boxes set aside. Go through your email list and then run a randomizer and get 50 names. Email those people and be like, hey, I'm offering you a box at MSRP.
Well, basically,
but they're doing it for that. They're doing that for that look on social media and eBay or on YouTube of like, I'm doing this for the community to then grow their own business on the back end. It's not for anything other than that purpose, or you would just do it.
Basically, it's a case where like you sell at market, you get bashed on. You sell at MSRP, you still get bashed on. You just can't win.
Which I mean, like getting into business right now, which is where we're on this podcast. It's tough. Like, it's a tough market to break into, right? And is it worthwhile? I don't know.
And right now, also a lot of like people see, even with us as well too, and people like see some of our collections and what we have, and like, you're flying in Chicago and stuff like that. Like people think like, oh, this is so cool. You have to do all this stuff, but like they don't see that grind behind the scenes, right? Like. They talked about briefly how like sometimes in 2-3 a.m. I message you and you're still awake inputting cards and stuff like that, right? Like I'm still packing orders and like sorting through my bulk and things like that. Like people don't see.
Yes, it makes money and it's great and it's cool, and I sell Pokemon and play with cards, and that's how I make a living. But at the end of the day, like there's a lot more that goes into it. There's a lot of mental strain that doesn't get taken into account. And everybody wants to be a business. Everybody I would say comfortably 80% of vendors at shows recently, like the smaller ones, not the bigger ones where they've been around for a long time, but like the smaller ones, have absolutely no idea how to run a business and will be out of business in 6 months.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
Right? And that's not in a bad way, but it's just like you can't sell $10,000 in cards in a weekend and have no idea of how to adjust for taxes and what your tax liabilities are for those things. Like it's crazy to me, but these people do it all the time.
Well, 90% of the people won't even want to put the effort or work to be able to like create that network to sell, right? People like we see in the groups, people just dump all their blooming waters that they bought in one go, right? That's not really developing your community or your sales avenues, sales channels, right? That's just, you dumping.
And there's okay if that's your plan and that's how you want to do it, but like you're not a business.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, no, again, it only works right now because Costco keeps stocking products, right? Like any other time, you're not going to be able to operate that way where you buy and just sell to somebody else immediately. There's going to be a time where product is readily available, and what are you going to do for those people that you're trying to flip product onto right now when they can order it themselves?
Business plan is the most important. And like this year, I think like you can make good money in Pokemon this year from like things like scalping some products and be able to like dump it pretty quickly, pretty easily. But I think like the easy money sometimes gets ahead of a lot of people, and they just keep going with that easy route over and over and over again, and not planning for the future to be able to be set for the next year or the year afterward, where it's going to be a downturn in the market, because it's never nothing's ever 100% going up, right?
Exactly.
Like, a lot of people just take the easy route. I can tell some of my friends that are in this business, like they just dump all their, singles and graded stuff at the convention, right? 80% dump it, they're done. They make the sale, on to the next thing, right? I'm like, if you like a successful business, you got to grind that eBay or store or whatever sales channel that you have, because last year in vending, we were offering 65%, sometimes even 60% for people's slab, right? Yep. And they were letting them go at that point, right? It's never going to be 80% all the time, but at least I know for eBay, I'll get 80, 85, depending on if you give them a deal or not. And once you have that channel kind of like made, kind of like established, then that channel is going to be recurring for you to have that sales ongoing when the market is a little in a downturn, right? And a
Yep.
lot of people don't see that aspect as it, just see the quick money and they don't plan for the future. And when that future does come today, they're going to be out of business at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, there'll be a lot of people who go out of business quickly and they don't plan for the future. And like nothing um nothing in life is guaranteed, right? Like you could lose all of your stuff tomorrow, or you could make $1 million, but you gotta know your risk tolerance and be okay with that. And I'd say most people aren't.
No, they aren't. Well, we're starting to get to the hour mark now. We have a few questions before we end. First is BGS. We don't see BGS on your. I swear I saw BGS on your website. No BGS anymore?
It got taken off this weekend because I'm kind of questioning where I'm going with everything currently. So it might be back, it might not be. As it stands right now, it is on pause. The demand for BGS is just so low on the grading side of things, and you'll probably see CGC and tag get taken off in the next 2 weeks because I can't be receiving cards and then getting 3 cards for tag that sit there for 2 weeks, or 6 cards for Beckett that sit here for 3 weeks, and I can't justify paying the high insurance cost to ship them there and then the return and all that without being able to build a larger bulk submission. For example, like I'm sending 2,000 cards a week to PSA right now, if not more. So like my focus needs to remain on that, and I don't want to have a situation where I'm holding someone's Beckett cards for 2 months before they even get to Beckett, and then have to wait for that turnaround time and hope that it's it's quick enough to get back to them. But then I'm also losing on the overall transaction because it's just not enough volume to justify. So change, but for now I pulled Beckett. If you have something specific, I can work it out. I'm not going to cover the shipping costs to and from. So if you strictly want somebody to manage the custom side of things, I can do that. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
So quickly before you list it in terms of like PSA will be number 1 in demand. What's number 2 and 3 and 4?
For grading?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm confusing myself here.
What you see in demand? PSA
demand? It's PSA, CGC, tag, and then Beckett for me. But I mean, like if you look at it from a CGC, tag, and Beckett, they're all extremely low. Like I had a decent influx when I first did it for tag, but it's dwindled quite quickly. I'm sure there's a chance it'll come back. I don't know when. I don't know. Maybe people are waiting to get their cards back, which is likely. But yeah, it's definitely like PSA is just destroyed. Like it's wild the amount of demand for PSA right now. Like it's just incredible the amount of cards that we're getting per thing.
And then the next question here is, do we know the price distributors are paying for Pokemon for their product? Is it a high margin since distributions are making money? We have no idea. They tell us like, here's ETBs at this price, take it or leave it. You say yes or no, and that's it. We have no information on how much distribution makes on their product.
They make enough though. I can.
They do, but like
that.
At the point right now, we can't question it because they'll be like, "Are you questioning me?" And we'll just take away all your allocation.
Yeah, it's very much you get what you get, and that's that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would look more at like initially. So 2 of the 3 distributors, one plays games every single time. One, and that one is the brick and mortar one. One allocates out 100% of their pack product, so you can't reorder it regardless of what the price is at. And then the other one sells a percentage of their product at our initial price, and then immediately offers it pretty much at 1% below market most times.
I think most, in my case, my experience, they're pretty fair in what they give, and it's pretty fair in terms of how you can get more. It's just, will you grind that out or not is a question.
Yeah, like you're in a situation right now where like there's no such thing as enough product. So no matter what you get from a customer or like from someone, like from a distributor, you're going to be upset because you can always take more right now. But like you said, like I think for the most part, I don't deal with the third one anymore because I'm not a brick and mortar. But when I did, they were terrible at fairness. And gave us almost no product for the store, even though we were brick and mortar and we were trying to spend with them. I pre-ordered 96 booster boxes of Scarlet Violet base, and they gave us 2. I ordered 100 ETBs from them, and they gave us 8. So they had to physically open the case, take 2 out, and then mail the case. So for me, it was like why? That's way more work to just do that than to just like send it along. You know what I mean? So that one wasn't fair, and I'll happily call them out about it because I don't work with them. I have no plans to work with them. I know multiple of my friends who own stores who have canceled their accounts with them. And then, yeah, the other 2, you're never going to be happy with the number you get because everything sells and you can make money on everything. But in terms of fairness, I would say both are relatively good at offering that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think they're pretty fair. Like, there's cases where like they're like, oh, the pre-order for these theme decks are pretty bad. You know, you want to take a few more, and I'd be like, give me the number, I'll do it, right? And then it plans out exactly what they tell me, kind of thing, right? So it's like, okay, it's pretty fair that way. Next question is, if you have 10K to invest now, which era would you put it into?
XY.
XY.
Yeah.
I say this thing right here.
What is that?
Evo Skies.
Oh God. Evo Skies is already high, man. You're crazy.
There's no reason why that box is not a $5,000, a $7,000, a $10,000 box.
Yeah, there is.
If Team Up can be that expensive, why can't
Team Up has a card that's worth $8,000?
Moonbreon will be worth $8,000.
Moonbreon's coming back down. Let's be real here.
Moonbreon will be worth $8,000. Just time is the best for this. But like, if I had a 3 to 5 year time frame on where I can put the most money is and relatively safe that you won't see huge fluctuations, Evo Skies. None of I would say not any SV era because it's already too expensive.
But yeah, your initial gains right now, that's the difference between Scarlet or Sword and Shield. You could get in at the ground floor. The ground floor is already gone. So your ability to make money is very diminished.
But Sword and Shield also is very cheap still. Like, Brilliant Stars is still cheap. Astral Radiance is still very cheap. Right? Like, those are
I just feel like low pop PSA 10s
cheaper than like an Obsidian Flames right now, right? Or like similar pricing.
Nah, I'm very much low pop PSA 10, XY, EX era, and Diamond and Pearl because it's such an undervalued thing of bigger Pokemon. Like, don't go buy like a random like Skitty card that's a pop 1. Like, that doesn't count.
We'll always fight about what's better, right? You always think the old stuff. I always say the new stuff, but I still think Evo Skies is going to be at least 5K, if not more. And that Moonbreon is going to be like 8 to 10K soon.
Oh, I think there's opportunity to move, but think about like, I can buy, what is that, 10K. So I could buy 10, 20, 30 Volcanion EX gold bordered PSA 10s for 10K, and you could buy 4 or 5 Evo Skyboxes. And the ability for a card to go from 280 to 500 versus Evo Skies to go from 2,500 to 5,000 seems...
Yeah, but if you're like a normal person, to liquidate all those Volcanions versus liquidating 5 Evo Skies...
Put them up on auction. Even if they go for 80%, you'd still be good.
For you, specifically. But, well, it's just our take on it. We have a little different take. We have different takes on, which is kind of why we always just talk a lot of stuff, is like, me and Kevin have a little big different takes on which
Yeah, Francis
product.
is wrong and I'm right.
I've been right so far, so
I don't know, man.
I've been
I'm
right
saying
so
right
far.
now, right
I've been
now,
right so far.
I'll take $10,000 right now and buy them. Buy
So
random EX PSA 10s.
I see Evil Skies right now. Right now it's like what? Canadian, what, down to like 1700 a box, maybe?
I think so, yeah. I think it's
So
down
like
to
it might drop down only another $100, $200 or so for the next couple months, but like after that, it's just gonna straight shoot up after that.
unless the economy tanks.
Yeah. And then why sealed slab? I think it's more so what we said earlier, but like why would you start off with sealed slab? It's just the biggest gain for business is starting off. It's just the biggest gain you can get with the smallest amount of capital. Unless you have large capital, then you would buy a bunch of sealed and stuff like that. But if you're most people that are starting a business in 2025 wouldn't have that much capital. At least the people I talk to that want to start a business, they don't have that much capital, right? And we're talking about like 5 to 10K capital cost kind of thing, right? And getting into grading is the best way to amplify that to a big enough capital where you can hold sealed products and you can hold more singles and hold more product kind of things. That's why sealed and such.
I just think those XY full arts are super undervalued. Think of like the artwork on like Mega Alakazam. Oh boy.
No,
I'm going on a buying spree. Every submission that comes back, I'm looking for those EX10s now.
Yeah. I just don't think there's as many people that want to buy them 3 years from now.
Well, those
4 years.
you got to look at it. What 2016, 2014 to 2016 for XY, those people would have been like 6 to 8 at that age. So that's add another 10 years. They're 16 to 18, and then they'll get into the period where they have money to buy stuff.
Well, Matt here says Evil Skies might hit 5K per box. I say it's guaranteed to hit 5K a box, just a matter of when.
That's a terrible bet. That's a terrible bet.
Well, it will hit 5K. 100% will hit 5K a box. Just when? Just when?
It's surprised at how high it's gone for sure, but like I said, if you look at it purely from an investment standpoint, I always think having more of something is always going to be better than only putting, you know what I mean? Like mine's kind of open-ended because I think any low pop XY era full art is a good opportunity to put money into because they don't grade well. Whereas yours is much more like a directed investment.
Yeah, but more people want modern ARs, IRs, alt arts, things like that. It's just
We talked about this. People move backwards. That's how
not as
people
many,
select.
not as many, but
Not as many, but you got to keep at it like from that perspective. People move backwards when they're exposed to the hobby for longer. So that's what I think.
If you have any more questions about starting a business in Pokemon or whatever that, feel free to like leave questions on the comments and things like that. DM us and stuff like that so we can prepare for the next podcast and things like that. So we'll try to do it every single week, if not more. We do have a guest. We're supposed to have a guest next week, no, next episode as well too. Another store, potentially
focusing on online and vending. No, I wouldn't say a store, but
so like we'll get their opinion on the current market and how they develop their business and things like that as well too. We'll start doing some giveaways here and there and things like that. But do you have your pack ready for the?
Oh, I don't. Let me go grab something. Okay, give me a minute. Let me go find something.
Well, I have this beautiful check lane Journey Together, which for some reason why people hate check lane blisters, right? I can sell a base, like a regular loose pack for like $8, and I sell this check lane for like $7.50, and nobody would buy the check lane, but I would be sold out of the loose pack. So I have no idea why that is the case, but maybe Kevin will have an insight on that.
Oh, you're opening it without me?
Just the check lane. Why do check lanes suck at selling? I was just saying how like I can sell a loose pack for $8 and it will sell out, and I try to sell a check link for $7.50 and no one will want it.
No one wants it. Twilight. We're going alt art, low grade alt art hunting right now.
Well, let's see the Clefairy.
I have 8 packs though. I didn't go for one.
Well, you make more money than I do, so that's what it is. Let's see.
I can't even see. Nope. Nothing. Terrible.
And then nope, terrible.
I gotta get something.
One day when I open a prismatic pack, it's gonna be like a god pack.
Yeah, I feel like that's not possible. I gave up on prismatic long ago.
One day. Oh, they have ace, you know.
I'll send it to you. I know you'll use it. Okie dokie.
Well, thank you for watching. We'll
appreciate it.
Let you know when the next one will be. And again, any questions or anything, feel free to let us know so we can discuss more for the next podcast.
Have a good one, guys.